The Maple Leafs are on the brink of elimination after an embarrassing Game 5 loss. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Inside the Leafs. Rob Wong, joined alongside by Toronto Sun Maple Leafs writers Terry Koshan and Lance Hornby. And guys, we were all in attendance last night for whatever that was that the Maple Leafs did on the ice in Game number 5 against the Florida Panthers, an embarrassing 6-1 loss that now has the Panthers one win away from advancing to another Eastern Conference final. We'll start with you, Lance, heading into game number 6. If you're Craig Berube, if you're the players, is there an area of optimism that you have heading into this do-or-die game?
Well, by and large, I've had half-decent first periods and many chances to take a lead even after what happened in Game 3. So there is that. They are starting on time, for lack of a better word, but certainly it's it hasn't taken much to torpedo their confidence. I was really surprised that they didn't take more advantage of home ice last night. A lot of nervousness out there, and once again, Nylander a chance to score a big goal and get things settled away, and didn't. And that's got a drag on the team certainly. And now you have to look at, in terms of optimism down there, yes, they have won an elimination game down there before. There was a couple of years ago. I believe they had to drain about 10 minutes off the clock with a 2-1 lead with some of this same roster. Mitch Marner had a big goal in that game, but Marner Matthews have to show up in some way, shape, or form. And I think there's some optimism there that you'll get a better Leaf effort. The problem is you're going to get there's no doubt of the effort you're going to get from the Florida Panthers and Sergei Bobrovsky. And that may counter anything the Maple Leafs come out with on Friday night.
Well, for me, the sense of optimism would be, or any bit of optimism would be, the Leafs aren't going to be this bad 2 games in a row. But whether they're good enough to win Game 6 might be another question altogether. I mean, they could clean up a lot in the defensive zone tomorrow night, and I figure that they will. But does that then lead to scoring more goals than what the Panthers potentially could put past Joseph Woll? I don't know. Hard to say. But I just don't think they won't be as bad as they were last night. It just can't happen. All we hear about from these guys is tight-knit group and they all like each other and everything. Well, you know what? You're going into tomorrow night now, and it's potentially the last game for Maple Leafs, such as Mitch Marner and John Tavares. So if you're thinking that looking across the room, take some motivation out of that you don't want this to be your last game, perhaps, with these two as teammates. Draw on those sorts of things from where you can. But, the fact is it's been one bad game for the Leafs in the series, I think. It was certainly a much different manner in which they lost Game 4 and were shut out down there. And then, of course, you have the Game 3 loss in overtime. But so it's not like the Leafs have been stringing together a bunch of really bad efforts. And I would expect it Friday night. They haven't lost 4 games in a row all season. Is this the first time that it happens? It'd be, an awful coincidence, I guess you want to call that, for that to occur. But I just think that there has to be a belief that they'll be better. They talk about having confidence, belief in themselves. Go show it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Hard to believe.
Yes, exactly. They need, they need to go, put it this way, they need to go down fighting even if they do lose.
You're right. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I was going to say, it's hard to believe that it was less than a week ago the Leafs were one shot away from maybe going up 3-0, and now they're heading into game number 6, down 3-2. We talked a lot. Sorry, go ahead, Terry.
What I'd say to that is that's what the playoffs are, though.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about the game of inches and everything. Well, if Nylander and I score in those opportunities in Game 3 in overtime, the narrative's completely different. At worst, the Leafs are going into Game 6 with a 3-2 lead. Or they've won the series by now. So this is how tight it is. And this is where these guys have to make this difference, right? It's just, it's not like people are getting blown away each game. I mean, last night was an aberration score-wise, really. And go out and make that difference. Earn the dollars that you're being paid very handsomely each regular season to do this.
Well, that is a good segue into Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, who have been taking a lot of heat over the last 18 hours or so since that game last night, Terry. And I think people were wondering, would Craig Berube make any significant lineup changes heading into game number 5 with some of his top players, but ultimately decided to keep the top 6 intact with David Kampf and Nick Robertson slotting in the bottom 6. But now going into game 6 where it is do or die, could you potentially see Berube hitting the not panic button, but maybe something to really shake up the lineup?
Well, maybe, but I don't know why he would. I don't know why you're going to break them up now. I mean, if you figured that they could have been more productive apart, then I think it would have happened earlier in the series. You have to grit your teeth and go through it and see and hope that you come out of it okay on the other side. The options aren't many, right? So what do? You move Nylander up, Marner back to play with Tavares. That's really what we're talking about here. I mean, he made the option. He made the lineup moves for Game 5. You bring in Kemp and Robertson. Robertson scores a garbage goal at the end that doesn't mean anything and won't carry over into Game 6. And Yarncroke and Holmberg weren't bringing anything offensively anyway. So really, that was just window dressing, and it didn't add up to much in the end. There isn't anything else really that Berube can do as far as bringing in players and taking others out. People talk about, Max Domi and his discipline issues. Does he come out for Game 6? Well, I don't know. Do you bring in a Yarncroke or Holmberg and then have him out? I don't know. I really don't know if that matters at this point. But as far as Matthews and Marner go, no goals for Matthews in the series. Marner's gone quiet as well, obviously, as we know. I think you just have to leave them together and hope that, it comes out in the wash on the right side. Because, as we saw last night, Berube, there was desperation there, but even when he was doing these line changes later in the game, they were done. They were done. And there was, the other discouraging part about that, I guess, is there was no pushback or anything when the Leafs made these changes, right? Mm-hmm. Nothing changed. So.
Well, you know what? If Austin Matthews opens Game 6 with the way he closed Game 5, I know it was, the horse was long out of the barn by then, but that was quite an impressive shift at the end. Maybe the booing got to him and seeing a couple of sweaters land or whatever, but you know what? He's got to come out a lot more motivated. Again, a decent night in the dots and doing all the defensive things. I know they did struggle a bit on the first goal in that, but he's not getting paid to do the little stuff, though. He's got to produce, and that means with the power play chance, because I think they were only down a goal when they had their first power play chance, and that went nowhere for sure. And down the line, further to Terry's point, I don't know what else they could do unless they've, Anthony Stolarz, not that he would make that huge of a difference in a game like last night. Apparently is not going to fly, still not well enough, and we've probably seen the last of him as far as this series and maybe this season goes. I didn't see a lot generated by the line changes, although once again, the miracle of sitting out Nick Robertson and having him come in and score a goal, the streak continues there. So that was interesting. But, I didn't see anything different than having, Yarncroc and Holmberg in there. And really, unless you want to try something really radical like Alex Steves, I don't know what else you do. But I keep, Marner, let Marner and Matthews, the captain and the assistant captain go down with the ship, sort of thing. Let's see if they have one last good game in them.
Well, and as Craig Berube said post-game after game number 5, it is a mindset at this point, not necessarily about adjustments. So we'll see how the Maple Leafs fare. Game number 6 set for Friday night in Sunrise, Florida. As always, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. For Lance Hornby and Terry Koshan, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.